I've not read it out before. I hope you can fit it. Sometimes I think politicians have made a bit of a deal with the devil. Norman was more or less born into Parliament. Both of his parents were peers of the realm. They taught him the value of forming an argument, stalling for time, and repeating yourself. And his school was expensive, which meant that he left with high self-esteem and some very good grades. And from schoolyard to manor to hallways of power, the fittings and decor, it all stays the same. So Norman felt cosy. He felt quite at home with the bills and the voting. It seemed quite important. He sparked off debates, had a laugh with his mates. He cheered from his seats as he saw them move forward to take up positions important, respected. Norman applauded. Sure, he'd be next if he kept up his end. He was charming, possessing a dignified air, made sure that he dressed with decorum, could talk without breaking a sweat, even chose the right trees when he hid from the press. And when weeks turned to years, and yet sitting perplexed was Norman. Dorman. He didn't progress. And his friends disappeared. A new lot came in, and Norman, it seemed, was about to trap wind, which the other MPs were too busy to know. Each evening he'd dine and would drink on his own, and so in these bars he kept mulling over this problem. And one night, from over his shoulder, back in the shadows, a rich leather booth, some voices he knew, a hullabaloo of cabinet roars, some jolly, some angry, all equally least recently loosened with brandy, were shouting remarks, the odd name, a few jeers, and then, what about Norman? He pinned back his ears. Oh, Norman? He heard a most stupefied shriek. The problem with Norman, good God, man, he's weak. The number of times he's switched or agreed with opponents or his position has tweaked. A murmur of voices, oh yes, weak. Why he did this so much, you'd think he would squeak. Norman at this staggered into the street. Their words breathed behind him. He didn't feel weak, he just felt that most problems were often quite complex, forming consensus that just seemed more honest. How stupid, he thought, and slowly he sank, collapsed by the bins with his head in his hands, and he started to weep. As he sank in this mire, he felt an odd warmth. So some kind of fire had lit up beside him. He turned with a gasp, for standing right there was a sprightly young chap with a very sharp suit and a hat made of straw, which jostled about between two little horns. Hello, said the man, bowing politely. You seem rather sad. I wonder if I might be of use to you, sir. I'm in need of some work, and perhaps you could do with a new civil servant. My name is, Jerry. He bowed down some more. Now, what is the matter? And Norman, forlorn, just poured out the problem, half angry, half sobbing. Was Jerry absorbed, all thoughtful and solemn? When Norman declared he's an absolute failure, awful and weak, Jerry exclaimed, well, that's nonsense, dear boy. I've got just what you need. Perhaps I could help. If you would agree, I'm sure I can help you to climb a bit higher. I've worked with the greats. I'm a special advisor of sorts. Here's a thought that could get you on track. Why not sign your name on this binding contract? He whipped out some papers, a great whopping stack. Norman just scrawled and scribbled out whack, and he felt slightly odd as he handed it back. But don't worry about that, Jerry said as the parchment made itself scarce. It's time we got started. He span Norman round. To his dismay, it now seemed they were sat in a radio station. Right, Jerry said. This is small local stuff. Just be yourself, strident and tough, and I'll be right here just in case you get stuck. Norman turned around as on air lit up, and the host began hosting. Tonight on our talk in the MP for Thanet. Let's start off then. Norman, we've had countless callers all gnashing their jaws. Why is there all this congestion on the A104? Right. Yes, said Norman, who started outlining the myriad causes that lead to a pileup. It's quite complicated. There was a cough by his arm, and it seemed Jerry was holding a small business card. It was sharp. It was white, it was perfectly cut. Oh, hang on, said Norman, and lifting it up, he glanced at its spidery, lickle black writing. He read what it said. There was just one word. Migrants. Migrants? Said Norman. Not sure what the link was, but just as he said it, he felt this invictus, this bubbling bile exploded within him, and he ranted and raved for several minutes, a violent polemic, all neatly wrapped up in how migrants are wild, the A-roads are stuffed, the house set there baffled. I'm right. Are you sure? Norman felt knackered, but gazed on in awe as one by one phone lines were beeping and ringing. Most who called in, it seemed, actually agreed with him. See, Jerry whispered, you've been getting it wrong. For people to follow, you need to be strong and an image of strength. Well, it's only complete if you found someone weaker that you can defeat. Right, said the host, after minutes placating the froth in these corners. Let's try debating our National Health Service. Why is it failing? Well, Norman said, with growing population. It's not failing, it's just supply and demand. Another white card thrust into his hand. Oh, sorry, said Norman. He read what it said. What I meant to say is Migrants again? And again the rate rose up. The froth that he poured upon migrants such bile, and each card he roared at the sick, the homeless, the unemployed heathens, that he had the strength to defeat them. And as time went on, the phones were near melting with those who called in. And as they both left, it felt weird for Norman. It felt a bit wrong. But Jerry was lit up. Yes, now you sound strong. And the following day, he walked through the gates, was greeted at once by a bunch of old mates who served in the cabinet. Norman, they gathered in, caught you on the radio, letting them have it. It's been way too long. That was powerful stuff. You must tell us, dear boy, have you made plans for lunch? And so through the autumn, Norman worked hard. Jerry on hand kept dishing out cards that each held a word, and as soon as he read them, he sprayed out a slurry of bubbling venom. Not gypsies and foreigners made him sound ominous. Gosh, how his Twitter exploded with followers. Problems with housing he blamed on the poor. Thefts were the fault of those fleeing a war that we chucked some bombs into. He left nurses moored, said migrants were locusts and coming in swarms, and now every day he swept through these corridors. Popular, honourable, strode like a warrior. Others decried him a man of great culture, charming with warmth and the odd hint of sulphur, when one day a phone call from someone important who held a position way up past the cabinet. Sorry to call you so late with this, Norman, but the PM's resigning. Think you'd have a crack at it? The race for the job was tense and exciting. Fortunately, Jerry was right there beside him. Did shout a barrage of single-word cards, which Norman digested and belched from the heart. Dear God, no, I'd say there's too many disabled. Ban all the burkers. Mosques are distasteful. What's that? Some grime artist says that I'm hateful. With all that he's earned, you'd think he'd be grateful. Poor growth he blamed on the art in our theatres. Crime stats he blamed upon infant school teachers. Mocked those with illness, nurses with chances, those using food banks should work a bit harder, and migrants, of course, to this now growing horde. He battered them raw like some kind of pinata, and with one day left, he hit the town hall. The final debate, now a crowd formed of voters, of which many seemed to be voting for Norman. They carried his name, waving slogans like "foreigner scum" and "take back control" on great big placards. Some shouted to throw out our firemen, some argued that gays should be stoned, some countenance neutering those on the dole, and they danced and they revelled and cheered in his pit. The truth is that Norman, he felt kind of sick, but Jerry felt lit up. He was glowing with pride. He gripped Norman's arm and he pulled him inside, and the lights, they went up. Out came the questions to Norman, of course. They were all simple setups. He read from his cards, he burped out the anger, said vegans and students were some kind of cancer, and people, they cheered him throughout the event, until the last question, this time on the fence. The host shined the lights on her mum at the front, who was holding her baby. She smiled and stood up, and she looked at her baby. The baby cooed gently. Norman checking that Jerry was ready. To Norman's dismay, Jerry stepped back, that little red hand outstretched. It was empty. Look, Norman, said Jerry, you've made me so proud, but those cards you signed up for, afraid you've run out. I mean, what do you mean, Norman said, sweat abounding. Oh, Jerry cried out, you'll figure it out. A flick from his wrist, the curtain swept back on him. Jerry was gone. Norman heard coughing. He looked back to the bright lights. A woman looked back. Minister, did you hear what I asked? Sorry, said Jerry, to Norman. Could you repeat the question? They looked back and said, well, are nuclear weapons? He looked at her carefully, balanced that baby. My question's about them. My family's safety is all I care about, knowing they're all right. Any thought of them hurting keeps me up at night. I need to make sure you protect all my loved ones. If we went to war, would you press the button? Well, be strong. Fuck, you've gone on way too long. Fuck it, be strong, Norman thought. Come on, fight the weak. Yes, of course, let me clear. Look, though I don't seek a war, to be sure that you can pretend that it's safe out there, and so in defence, I would certainly use nukes if someone attacked us. A ripple of applause. One opponent said, that's just not good enough. Why don't I nuke them all first? The cheering was louder. The other one smirked, well, I'd press a thing at the drop of a hat. Using nukes in defence, nothing strong about that. Norman felt flustered, his head now ached. He just stared at the woman holding that baby. His opponents both chimed in, my God, what a mess. Listen to Norman, he's weak on defence. I mean, me, I'd kill hundreds. No, me, I'd kill thousands. No, hundreds and thousands. And on they both bragged how they burp out these bombs. Who'd be quickest to jab on that button, who turned the most kids into ash, until they're both round him. What we'd like to ask is why he wouldn't do it. Norman felt blank. All of this nonsense, the cards he'd been given. All right, said Norman, just listen. Blowing up thousands of innocent people, it won't make you safe. They're no threat. They're not evil. It's those who are in power who call all the shots. They're who to target if you want the war stopped. The crowd just stopped stunned, complete consternation. His opponent seemed rallied. Hang on, what are you saying? Don't kill civilians, just fight those with power. I knew there was something that's not right about you. There were grunts of agreement. He heard one guy speak at the back of the room. My God, he sounds weak. And his mind had just cracked in the moment he saw it. The butchery, dominance, raw pain and purpose. The lines that we draw between strong and the weak. And the pain went away, and with one mighty leap, he leapt from the podium down to the floor, down in the pit with this infernal roar. And next to that woman now holding her baby, he roared in her face, grabbed at the babe. She cried in dismay as he pulled it away, and he bit on her baby. He bit on the baby. The blood, how it dribbled, it trickled like gravy. The crowd, it erupted. My God, he's gone crazy. A monster, a brute. You can't hurt a baby. A poor one, perhaps. A foreign one, maybe. But not one that's one of us. Not one in front of us. You're evil. You're a demon. You're a beast. Well, you're monstrous. And I've gone way over. Like, should we end it there? Thank you very much for listening. After